What up, CAUSENETIC fam?
Hey, welcome to the CAUSENETIC podcast.
CAUSENETIC means being a person or thing that gives rise to a phenomenon that is dynamic or energizing.
Hey, we're tackling topics and telling the truth.
I'm Rodrigo Ross.
Hey, I'm Keith Benson.
So we have yet another installment of Shine Baby Shine. And you know what? We are winning today. We are 3 for 3.
All right, Shine Baby Shine.
Shine Baby Shine.
We're winning today.
We are winning today.
And we're in Las Vegas.
And you see what I did there?
I saw that.
Las Vegas,
I saw that.
You see what I
saw
did there?
that.
Yes, but that's not really why we're winning. We're winning because we have joining us on this version of Shine Baby Shine none other than Angelica Portillio. Woo, 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 woo.
And we had
the
to come.
Director.
Yes, director
of Advocacy and Workforce Initiatives. It is a newly minted, fresh out the package, still got the good new smell on it for the National AfterSchool.
Got that Similac smell.
Similac. You showed your age on that one. You did. You went back in the crates for that one. Well, welcome to the CAUSENETIC podcast, Angelica. We are so excited to have you and to hear more about your passion for education and public policy and advocacy in the out of school time space.
And we had to come all the way to Las Vegas
to meet somebody
from Dallas.
From down the street. Ain't that always how it works?
How they say down the street.
Down the street. That's all right. That just means when we get back down the street, we gonna hang.
Yeah, but we're here at the National AfterSchool Association conference here for after-school professionals all over the country.
Yes.
I think, 1,600 strong up in here today.
Yeah.
Exciting. And as Ross said, Angelica is the Director of Advocacy and Workforce Initiative. Tell us about your passion for the space of after school.
Yeah, so I really came into it when I thought I wanted to be a teacher.
Yeah.
And I, went to the University of North Texas. They have a great teaching program. And I was sitting in those courses. And I also, prior to that, I did a teaching internship for 2 years. And then I was sitting in those courses and realized, I don't think this is for me. It's teaching is a very specialized field. It takes a lot of skill that I just couldn't tap into. But I loved kids. I loved working with them. And so while in college, I started working for an after school program. And while I was there, I realized that I don't have to teach kids necessarily, but I get to support them in all aspects, whether that's academic or social and emotionally. And then I get to work with their families in the school and the community. So you get to just wrap in more and tap into more resources when you're providing that service. And so I thought to myself, this is something special. And I just didn't know what it was. And so after I graduated, the program that I worked for is a for-profit agency. And so I was able to transfer back to Dallas because that's where I'm from. And I was like, I'm going to go back home. I'm graduating. What can I do? And they said, well, we have an early childhood center you can go work for. And I was like, okay, I'll go do that. But then I was working with toddlers. And I said, and as you can imagine, calling parents to come say, hey, you need to buy diapers again. And your kid got bit.
You know your baby wears diapers. You just please bring us some.
Exactly. I'm like, just put it on rotation, Amazon Prime it here.
Yes.
And then I was like, no, I really want to go back into working with out of school time and in out of school time. And then I started working for a local intermediary in Dallas and was able to grow into the advocacy role because my passion was public policy. Like, how can we create bigger systemic change? And that was through policy. And so then it passed 4 years now, have been in the policy space for after school and education.
I love that. I love that global thinking that not only do we need, things happening right there, granular on the ground with the young people, but we need to figure out the chinks in the system. So Nelson Mandela said, at some point, you got to stop pulling people out of the river and go upstream and figure out why they are falling in. Like, to me, that's what policy work is. Like, you got to get in and figure out why are certain populations and certain marginalized people experiencing life in a certain way and others aren't. And let's fix that so it stops happening. I love it.
So what's happening in the policy space that is important for after school?
So what's happening right now, I think the biggest thing we've seen is because of the pandemic, we saw a lot of the American Rescue Plan dollars go towards cities, school districts, counties, states, right? And we also saw education funding through ESSER funds come through a lot of state agencies, local education agencies. And within that was built in a lot of funding for after school and summer programs like never before. We have seen so much money come into programs, and we now have the funds to serve all the kids we want to serve, essentially, right? We referenced earlier that for every child in an after school program, there are 3 waiting to get in. We're like, boom, our wait list could be covered. The problem is that we are having challenges. A lot of our after school programs are utilizing those funds, getting those funds that are coming down from the federal funding streams. And not only that, but we don't have the workforce that can provide the service that we can get children off the wait list. And so that, I think it's a huge opportunity and a missed opportunity if we don't change that mindset before these funds do run out. They will stop.
Because they will stop.
They will.
Right. And then what are the implications if you don't use them, right? When people say, oh, well, we made these available and y'all didn't use them, so you must don't need it, so you're not going to do it again.
That is my biggest fear. I think we're hurting ourselves as a field when we're saying, okay, we have these funds, yes, but if we really pump money into the workforce or put money into this, and we're going to hit a funding cliff, and in 3 years when the money goes away, then what? But I think that then what? Let's see what happens when we do put these resources and funding into it.
Love it.
And then when it comes down, then you've built your advocacy efforts, right? You're like, when you can see your return on investment. If you're going to put this amount of money into it, this is what happens. And so you need to continue to fund it. Because honestly, if the money is getting sent to us, then that means it's always been there.
It's been there, right?
So
they didn't print new money.
Yeah.
What did they? I don't know.
I don't know. Right. They find some money though.
Because they will find it. But that is an amazing way to look at it, right?
Yeah.
Like, what if we did spend all the money and we hit the cliff? Like, let's go to the cliff. Let's go to the edge of the cliff.
The cliff.
Oak Cliff?
Oak Cliff?
The cliff. Yeah. But then there's the cliff in Oak Cliff.
Oh, goodness.
I know you'd have been to
I'm
the
not
cliff.
from that. Goodness, it's too much.
Inside joke, family. So when we think about this theme that we're talking about here, the conference of thriving workforce, what's needed? I mean, you talk about all this money there that can be a game changer, but what's needed to create that thriving workforce?
That is a large question that we actually had our leaders at convention talk about. So we had thriving workforce sessions, and invited to that was our National AfterSchool Association board members, our state affiliate leads. We had our next generation honorees attend, and we had funders, policymakers, people that are in data and research and evaluation that are leaders we are aware of. We have been recommended to, like, this person is an expert in this. You need to bring them to the table. And what we did is we created that table at the convention. And so for the past 2 days, they have been in a room without windows, really working on in your levels of expertise, whether that's as a policymaker or in policy, as funders, as system thinkers, as school and organizational leaderships, and research and evaluation, like, what is it going to take for your groups to achieve job quality? And that's what they worked on. I haven't looked into all of what they've been working on, but the thing is, we've had conversations for so long about our after school workforce. So really, we said all these great minds are going to come together and really talk to one another from different levels. We had people from the local level and from the state level and federal level talking about how we move this forward. And I think we're going to see really amazing things come from that. And I think it's going to take for sure, 3 things. One, we need to change our mindset and our deficit mindset around, we are running programs for free. We cannot charge family, and maybe we shouldn't, right? But we need a different funding model for our after school programs. We don't have a real business plan. There's no business plan. And we're running programs on a low budget. We try to ask for more, but maybe we're not doing a good enough job. Like, what do we need to change to bring value and funds to our field? Right?
Yeah.
And then change the perception of the profession. I think Leah hit on it earlier, right?
Yeah.
It's like, these are not just caregivers. It's not someone just babysitting, but these are skilled professionals that have a lot of expertise in the field. And you expect them to go get credentials, go back to school, get your degrees in this and that. But someone who's been in the field and doing a great job taking care of children and bringing value to their lives and their communities don't need to do that to be paid more.
Right,
It's pretty amazing, though, that we don't value our childcare workers in that space. So when you got me thinking a little bit here, I mean, here we're talking about taking care of people's most precious, most precious, right? Like, when I put my child in the hands of somebody else, like, I'm vetting you out. I'm making sure that you're right. But then when we talk about putting them in daycare, because parents really do vet out daycares, right? How my child is going to be taken. Hey, tell me your policy on this. Tell me your policy on that. But yet then as organizations, we don't pour back into our staff in the way that people value the service. You know, people will pay top dollar for the service, but yet then what is the product that we are putting in the space as organizations?
Okay, so you just made me think of something. Okay, so parents do scope out daycares. They want to know, they do a whole, analysis, right? Like, my kid's going to go here. This is how much it's going to cost, how convenient it is for me. And I think one thing we could do is bring awareness, and we are doing it better. The pandemic helped that, of how much childcare workers, out of school time workers, youth workers are actually making. And you know what just reminded me of? People stop shopping at grocery stores because people aren't paying a livable wage, right? So how many parents actually know that the person taking care of their child is only making $7.25 an hour?
Because
like,
they
would you stop shopping there? Right? Like, when Kellogg goes on strikes, do you know that your person taking care of your child is not getting the benefits they deserve, or actually don't deserve, need, pay they need? Like, would that change the game if parents knew that, or would people stop shopping somewhere?
I love that. And the other thing that always confused me is how we put these requirements on out of school time workers. You have to have this certification and this degree and this, that to me mirrors the things that educators have to have, that teachers have to have. But out of school time professionals have, for as long as I've been involved, and I've been in the after school space, been a licensed child care director of centers for, you said, well, you didn't have to say it like that. For some time now. And they will be the first to tell you that we are not educators and we're not trying to be educators. We are trying to supplement and support the total child. But then you put all of those things on them, but then are quick to tell them, but y'all are not educators. But then why are you making me jump through all of these hoops? And like, why are we making it so hard to thrive in that space, working with our most precious commodities?
And then when you take a look at who's working in these spaces, we have some individuals who work in these spaces that they'll challenge themselves, from a living perspective. We're paying them a low wage, and then we ask them.
Sometimes they have their own kids.
And then we're asking them to go out and get more education, and we're tasking them with that. But yet we're not paying them the wage that they can go out and afford to even
and not paying for the education.
Pay for the training.
Like, go get some more debt so you can make less money.
Not only that, but like, go to school. Like, I need childcare, so you need to be here. But then you need to go get your own education. Like, that doesn't. Like,
I get the same 24 hours you get. I don't.
And I think the other part is that a lot of our program, the hard part, I think, is challenging to see, is these are our community programs, like our community-based programs. You know them well. The people that work them are from your community. How could you not? Why would you not want to support that? And I think it comes back to some people just don't know that they don't get paid what they need to be paid.
And I totally get that we have to advocate and set some standards for skills, right? But I think people may be narrowing their definition or the correlation between comparable skills and competencies and so-called formal education. Because there are definitely people who I've seen, quite frankly, who have gone that formal education route, but that doesn't always make them the best in that out of school time space.
But does it get to a point that leadership development becomes important in an organizational space? Like, how are we creating our development plans for our staff?
Yeah.
And that's not just full-time, because for the most part in this space here, it is part-time staff that's working it. So how are we training up our part-time staff to have the different credentials that are laid out there? And so in a lot of cases, you know, if you're a licensed program, you have to have these different things. So organizations, how are you developing your staff? And I'm not just talking about the full-time, because as a VP, I have options, right? I can go to the big conference here, the big conference there, but yet it's limiting for our part-time. And I understand there's a cost to it all, but internally, I think within the organization, you can create a development plan for your staff if you want to have this quality program.
Absolutely.
Right. I think, we kind of, to work backwards from what you said, like, we have this convention and it is costly, right? I mean, it does take a lot of money to register, to attend, to stay, and we understand that. And we try to make our resources accessible to everyone, though. Yeah. So even though you're not here, there are still ways to access the resources that we have. And part of that is making sure that your organizational leader comes here and ensures that when they go back, they have their creating development plan.
Yes, and they're taking all this stuff
exactly. And then hopefully they get hyped and they know, like, okay, you know what, we do need to promote our field. I think I talked to a lot of our young professionals that were here last night, and their biggest thing was they wanted mentorship, peer-to-peer, and across leadership levels. And the other thing is that they wanted more upward mobility when it comes to this space. So like, I love it, but I don't get paid enough and I don't know what to do next. And so hopefully being here, they can see that after school can be a whole career. I mean, my first time I came, I was like, whoa, like, this is legit. Like, I could work in this for forever.
Yeah, right. It's not just a stopgap, or let me do this for now until I get to.
Exactly.
Now, one of the main things I find is that staff who begin to work with children, they fall in love with that space. And they don't, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I have my whole thing, I have a passion for young people, but became a place and time that I realized that, man, as executive director, I now can hire that person who models the things that, you know, the things that how I deal with and work with. I now can hire that person. Man, now if I'm a VP, man, I can have more influence now to be able to put people in positions in order to succeed. But I think it's hard for those who, if you're part-time or maybe early, full-time, and you're in that space and you love working with kids and you want to, you know, like when you bury yourself in that space for 5, 10, 15 years, it's just hard for you to have influence at a different level that may be policy, you know, now that you're dealing with, that may be funding your program, you know, whatever the case may be. But as you go up in that space, your passion doesn't have to change. That can stay.
You just get at it a different way.
Yeah. I think that goes to organizational leadership. If you see someone has explained to you, like, I'm very passionate about that. I love working with the kids, right? But I'm interested in policy. Like, your role as a leader is to say, when we have these policy conversations, or, you know, we're developing curriculum, we want your perspective from direct service with children. You know, you want to stay working with the kids, that's fine, because we do need people to work with kids, right?
Absolutely. If one more 4-year-old tell me about life, right? That's how I know I'm out that space.
Yeah.
One more 7-year-old.
Because as you get older, and your passion don't leave, but
your patience do. Sir. Yes, sir. Passion don't leave, but the patience leave.
Oh man.
But you just have to realize the next evolution of that passion and really begin to surround yourself with people that helps you get this higher perspective and this global perspective. Like, I can still do the things that I'm passionate about. It doesn't have to be limited by this. Like, there's all this other space that I can play in and still, be in what feels like my passion point.
Right.
I love that. I love that.
And we just got to be able to get people to be able to understand, especially about our young leaders. Like, hey, love the kids, but hey, let me show you this other opportunity.
Yeah.
And then we got to be able to grow as leaders in our space. Right? How do we grow those leaders to be able to get to that point?
And sometimes, as a leader in a space, you got to grow yourself to get out the way. Like, this young person can't get in a seat. You know why? Because your buns is in it. Like, you may have to move so that the next young person can come in and they can realize the next evolution of themselves. Maybe that's the way you help, is you elevate and get out of the way.
Right.
So
it's called succession planning, though, right?
Yeah, I was exactly that, succession planning. If you want to see something well done and after you leave that space and spot, you want to make sure you have the right person fill in.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important.
And those young babies, they deserve that continuity, right? Mm-hmm. Like, to lessen that learning curve so that they can keep on with the great experiences. Yeah. Get out the seat, Keith.
Oh.
I'm trying.
I'm trying. You best to believe.
I'm trying. Hey, well, look, thank you guys for listening to CAUSENETIC.
On this episode called Shine, Baby Shine, featuring, thank you so much, Angelica Portillio, Director of Advocacy and Workforce Initiatives for the National AfterSchool Association.
And subscribe and listen to us weekly.
And don't be shy, give us a 5-star review.
And as always,
be dynamic,
be phenomenal,
be
CAUSENETIC.